The plot twist at the end of this movie is insane. Let's do it. Sleepaway Camp opens up with us seeing this father take his two children, Angela and Peter, on a boating trip. Before they are able to get back on the boat or get to shore, they are hit by another boat. And through the bodies floating in the water, we see that the father, John, was killed, as was one of the children. So we fast forward 8 years and we see that Angela is the surviving child and she's now living with her aunt Martha, who is just like a total whack job immediately, we can see. And she also lives with Martha's son, her cousin Ricky. So Angela and Ricky are sent to camp. Ricky has been there before and he tries to introduce Angela to everybody, but she is like super introverted. She doesn't speak to anybody. And that leads her to immediately start being bullied, especially by these two bitches, Judy and then a camp counselor named Meg. We meet Artie, who is the cook at the camp, and he is a fucking creep. Like, he literally says there's no such thing as too young. Sir, I'm sorry, there is. And one day, Artie attempts to SA Angela in the back of the kitchen, but Ricky comes in and stops it. And a little while later, we see Artie be offed by an unseen figure by dropping boiling water on him. He actually lives and is taken to the hospital, but I hope it hurt. So the camp's owner, Mel, who is this weird old dude, is like, it was an accident. It's going to be fine. Let's cover it up and not tell the kids. So these other boys also start to bully Angela, which, like, how can you be a bully when you're wearing this? He's actually not even one of the bullies. But Ricky and his friend Paul always stand up for Angela, and Paul specifically starts to kind of develop a little crush on her. And she actually starts speaking, specifically to Paul, but then she kind of starts speaking to other people as well. One night, one of the boys named Kenny, who was one of the ones that was bullying Angela, tips over on a canoe and is drowned by an unseen figure. And Mel is once again like, it was an accidental drowning. It's totally fine. Like, I'll tell his parents. And everybody continues on seemingly unfazed by the fact that this child just traumatically died. Paul and Angela's relationship continues to develop. They go to a movie one night and he kisses her. It's like super awkward. And then one day a bunch of boys throws water balloons at Angela and once again bullies her. One of these boys is named Billy and he proceeds to be the next one to be offed. When he goes into the bathroom one day, we see an unseen figure lock him in and throw a bee's nest in there and he is stung to death. So now we have our third accidental death and Mel finally starts to believe that there is a killer at large in the camp. So one night Angela and Paul are on the beach and he starts to kiss her and he starts to get a little handsy even though she doesn't want that. And she starts to have a flashback to her youth when she and her brother witnessed her father in bed with his boyfriend. And this causes Angela to get upset and run away. Now, Judy, who literally gets attention from every other boy in camp, is for some reason pissed that Angela is getting attention from one boy. So she proceeds to seduce Paul, and the two of them are caught making out in the woods by Angela. The next day, Paul tries to apologize and say, like, she wouldn't leave me alone. But he's distracted when Judy and Meg show up and grab Angela to throw her in the water. Because this whole time, she's been refusing to swim with everybody, and they're making fun of her for it, of course, because they're fucking bullies. So Ricky ends up saving her, and he's, like, really aggressive and threatening towards everybody that bullies her. So Mel has seen this, and at this point is becoming suspicious that Ricky is the killer. And now we also find out that, like, every man working at this camp is a fucking creepy weirdo. Because Mel is all about Meg, and she, for some reason, is going along with it, and the two of them agree to a date that night. But Meg proceeds to be offed while she's taking a shower that night. So that night, there's like a social event at the camp, and Paul once again tries to apologize to Angela for the whole Judy thing. And Angela doesn't even look at him, but just says, meet me on the beach, and he agrees. Meanwhile, Mel finds Meg's body, and he is absolutely furious. And several of the other kids that were bullying Angela earlier are found dead in their sleeping bags. And Judy is also killed in a particularly brutal way that I cannot say on here. So now everybody at the camp knows what's going on. It's absolute fucking chaos. Everybody's horrified. And Mel ends up tracking down Ricky, who he now is convinced is the killer. And Mel beats Ricky unconscious. Mel proceeds to run off into the woods where he encounters the real killer. It's not Ricky. And we still haven't seen this person. We just see Mel look at somebody and say, no, it can't be you. And then he is impaled with an arrow through the throat. So we see that the police have been called and they've shown up at this point, and Paul goes down to the beach to meet Angela, like she said. And eventually, two of the camp counselors run down to the beach where they discover Angela completely nude and holding Paul's severed head. And even more shocking than the severed head, they look and see that Angela is not Angela. Because Angela doesn't have the parts that would make her Angela, she has the parts that would make her Peter. So we then get a flashback and we see that Angela was actually the child who died in the opening crash and Peter survived. But when Peter went to go live with his wacko aunt, Martha decided that she already has a son, so that won't do. I've always wanted a little girl. And forced Peter to be raised as Angela, as a girl. So then we see Angela covered in blood, holding this head, staring at these camp counselors with her mouth open like this, hissing and growling at them like a fucking animal. and the movie ends. So Angela was the killer the whole time.